Hey guys, it's Luke. How you going? A while ago, I made a post on Reddit about how I just released my first app onto the App Store, and it took me, I think it was like 10 revisions before Apple actually accepted it. But overall, I got asked a heap of questions about how I built it, what did I use to build it, what issues did I have with Apple and building it, and what did they come back with. So I thought I would make a YouTube video and explain the whole process, what I did, how I did it, what I used, and how long it took me. Now, for some context, I had zero experience in developing and any sort of coding knowledge whatsoever. The only sort of knowledge I had was probably like COVID, so 2019, 2020, early 2020, GTA RP took off, and I decided to create my own GTA RP server, and there's a bit of coding and, you know, developing on the base Grand Theft Auto game, so I dabbled in that for a little bit, but it didn't really end up working out, so I did nothing. And then AIs, LLMs, GPT-4 came out, and then I learnt about Claude, and so I decided to build an app. I've always wanted to build an app. I've always wanted to do coding, but I never went to school for it, and I just thought it was sort of out of my reach. So I decided to use AI, and most people call it vibe coding, and I guess if you're using those platforms like Lovable or Replit and you're not actually looking at the code itself, you are vibe coding. I think, and I heard the term get thrown around, and I'm gonna keep throwing it around, vibe engineer. So in my case, I would classify it as a vibe engineer. Again, it's not a real terminology, but it makes more sense because I'm actively reading the code, I'm correcting the AI, I'm understanding what the functions do, and therefore I've been able to sort of understand more than what a vibe coder would. A vibe coder would have no idea. If there's a bug, they just say fix the bug. But in not every circumstance, but in some circumstances, I can find the bug and either fix it myself or still just get the AI to do it. But I'm able to save the time by reviewing it myself. I still wouldn't say I'm an expert in any walks of life. I still would not be able to get a job tomorrow unless someone specifically was looking to hire a vibe coder. I definitely would not be able to do that. So yes, context behind, done. I built a fitness and nutrition app, and so what this fitness and nutrition app is, in my opinion, it's fantastic, it's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's intuitive, and it's just gonna keep getting better and better as long as people keep downloading it and using it, and as long as I keep enjoying doing it. So it's called Macro, and originally it started out as I just sort of I went to Perplexity Labs, funnily enough, and I put the prompt into Perplexity Labs, build me a fitness tracker. Now I have some images on my phone of what it looked like. I might actually pop them up, but anyway, we don't need to. This isn't about the Macro app. So the app took me 6 months to develop it until it got to where I was happy with, and then once it got to the point where I was happy with, I launched it to the App Store. In the meantime, at the beginning I was using Xcode only because it was an iOS app only, and then I would originally just I got the Perplexity files, I opened it into Xcode, and then I would, if there was an error, I'd get that error, I'd copy it and paste it into Perplexity with the whole file. So I'd copy Control A, Control C, or Command A, Command C, paste that into Perplexity with the error, and Perplexity would fix the error. We did that back and forward, and then I did some research and found out about VS Code, so I used VS Code. Then Claude came out with the CLI, and then Codex came out, and so I've been using, my only go-to at the moment is VS Code with the Claude IDE and the Codex IDE. IDE is basically just an extension, so you've got a chat interface. Now, I also dabbled with Cursor, and then I also dabbled with Copilot Pro, or GitHub Copilot Pro. The only reason, those platforms are fantastic if you want to use multiple different models, and they're sort of easy to use, right? They're built in, they're sort of built around it, and you can sort of do everything with it. However, what I found, and to me it doesn't really make sense, is GitHub Copilot, owned by Microsoft, owns a part of ChatGPT. You're gonna get slightly better value. Cursor is a for-profit company, and a for-profit company cannot give people good value and profit. They don't mix and match, they don't align. So when I realized that with ChatGPT and even Claude now, I would get 10 times the amount of value, right? Currently, all you have to worry about is a 5-hour limit. Once your 5-hour limit refreshes, you can go back to using, I would say, $20 worth or $30 worth, probably even more. Sometimes you probably get $50 to $60 worth of usage in that 5-hour time limit for both Claude and GPT. You'd probably get, I'd say, $100 to $150 worth of value. Cursor restricts you. So without babbling on, if you like the applications, by all means use them. I have a subscription to Gemini, I have a subscription to Claude, and I have a subscription to ChatGPT. I have the $20 or the minimum subscription for all three, and I do not pay for any other LLMs whatsoever. I get immense use. I am almost developing 8 hours a day most days, and I never run out of usage. Now with Gemini 3, it's amazing, and I use that pretty. I don't use it religiously. I've started offloading all my web design to Gemini 3 in anti-gravity, another video. So once I switched over to VS Code with the extensions, my speed of being able to develop apps just went insane. I was able to bug fix, add new features rapidly. Like within an hour, I could have a new feature researched, developed, ideated, and then implemented and bug fixed within an hour. I still do a lot of my research and a lot of my ideation, so coming up with ideas and features in ChatGPT or Gemini, or even Perplexity, but I'm using less and less of Perplexity. ChatGPT and Gemini for me are pretty well amazing and cover me for almost everything. And so I'm able to pretty much use them exclusively. I would do ideas, I'd do a deep research if I really needed to, and then I would basically get the knowledge. I'd either paste it into Codex or Claude, or I'd just end up typing what I want. Now, to use them both effectively, I would say use Claude, or even Gemini 3.0 is very good at this. So Claude or Gemini I would do for planning and implementing, right? They are very quick and they have slightly better design philosophies and design guidelines. So they're not gonna they'll pump out the same crap, but the same crap generally won't look like AI as bad as what GPT will look like. It'll actually take what you want to do and sort of apply different color schemes. But my suggestion is just tell it how you want it to look. Get the base plan, get the MVP, so just let it create it, and then adjust it from there, because otherwise your app's gonna look like shit. So I used Claude for planning and implementing, and then everything else, every other bit of coding, bug fixing, any sort of, if I needed to redo a whole file, or if I needed to do any major sort of coding, it's done with Codex, because it is far superior at general coding. Claude does do a little bit better with Swift, like iOS apps, but you'll be fine either way. The next thing is I just tested on my real phone, so I either plugged it in or I just let Xcode post it to my phone, and I would just test on my phone. Test everything 100 times. That's the only other thing I would recommend. Test everything 100 times, because people are going to use your app and they're going to break it, and you're not going to know how to fix it. So you need to know how to use your app better than anybody else. Even if you don't understand code, you need to understand your app and how it works and what it does. So you need to understand that if you use a database like Supabase, when does Supabase get activated? What saves to Supabase? How does it save to Supabase? What does Supabase control in your app? Because if you don't know that, if someone asks me a question, like I had someone go, there was a bug fix the other day where, what was happening? I can't remember anymore. Now, I was freaking out because I'm like, there's a bug, someone's not having a good time, I don't know what to do. But because I knew that feature was a Supabase feature and it didn't require me to have to put out a full update through the App Store, I could just log into Supabase on my phone and just change a couple of words and it fixed the problem. So things like that, if you have certain things allocated that aren't strictly on the app, sometimes you don't need to do a whole app push. It's just a server-side push. Then I started using Posthog. So now I can develop features in advance. Like I have 3 updates planned for my app now that are all pushed into the current app, but nobody can see them and nobody can use them because they're locked behind feature flags in Posthog. So I turn them on in Posthog, Posthog talks to Supabase, and then Supabase activates those features. Again, it's all done server side, so I don't need to push out an update and go, hey, big update, download it now. I can do all the marketing and all the fun stuff and go, just tick a box or flick a switch and the update is live when everyone goes and logs into that app again. So it's learning all these little things to get the app and get your knowledge base up. My first thing is just learn. After that, what did I do? I sort of, so once I was sort of ready, I did test flight. I had 5 people testing it and it worked really, really, really well. So then I did, what did I do? Then I submitted it to the App Store. This is where I sort of had a lot of issues because Apple's App Store review is very, very slow, and it's at least 2 days to get back to you. So whenever you submit something, you wait 2 days for a response, you go fix it, then you wait another 2 days for a response. So it could be a week per thing, right? Which for me, it almost was. So at first it was the paywall didn't work. So Apple just designed things to be how they would want it, right? If they were pushing out an app, it has to be a good user experience, otherwise you can't get your app into the App Store. If you don't have a good if your users can't do a certain feat, like for example, in the AI chat, I had a little placeholder button in the placeholder toolbar in the top right hand corner of the screen. It did nothing. It was just there. It said AI and it said Pro. Now because they were buttons and they did nothing, Apple was like, remove them or make them do something. And I said to them, I don't really want them to do anything. And so they said, too bad, remove it. So they're like, or make them do something. I'm like, all right, I'll just remove it. So if they're not going to be able to have their users have a good experience, you're not going to be able to do it. The next thing is, because I had an AI chat that was connected to your health and nutrition, I needed to disclose sources. So you know how when you have sources at the bottom of the chat, because I didn't have those sources in the bottom of the chat, or anywhere in the message, Apple wouldn't approve that. So because Apple again, they were like, you're giving people health information here. People need to know where the health information comes from, otherwise you're classified as a medical device, and you're not a medical device. So I had to add sources to the AI chat, and then I had to add sources into the website, into the privacy policy. They check your privacy policy, they check your terms of use. So I had to have a sources tab in my settings menu. I had to have privacy policy terms of use in the settings menu, and I had to have sources attached to each message in the AI chat. Again, these things take a week. So then you'd go and fix the paywall, and then you'd go back and they're like, nope, now it doesn't work. And the thing is, they test on an iPad, they don't test on an iPhone or anything like that. So even though everything you're doing is right, they're testing it on a sort of an iPhone emulator on the iPad. So it's, again, not the same thing. And then, yeah, so it's kind of back and forward. They just want to make sure that your app works properly, right? So again, I ran into paywall issues. I ran into button placements and, you know, buttons that aren't buttons. I ran into health issues. I ran into store descriptions. I ran into a lot of different issues. So the store descriptions, because it was a medical app, and you know, because it's a health and fitness app, again, you have to have disclaimers at the bottom of your description. Apple, if you don't have those descriptions, Apple will decline you. So what I learned was read the Apple guidelines, or get the Apple guidelines, chuck them into ChatGPT, or chuck them into Codex in VS Code, and just go, are we following all these rules? And let Codex just go through the guidelines, and let Codex go, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That'll probably save you a lot of time, but again, you're never gonna, in theory and on your computer and in VS Code, it might work and it might sound good, but once you get to Apple, it's a different story altogether. So if you can get all that stuff down packed and all that stuff right, you'll be fine. But yeah, I think that kind of covers it. So the programs I use, everything I use VS Code, and I use a little bit of anti-gravity now for web stuff. So I can make another video on that if you're interested. So VS Code, Claude Code, Codex, Xcode, and I use Android Studio. If I do Android, I like to do apps native to their platform. So I like to do, especially if they're apps that I'm going to do long term. Again, Codex, Swift for iPhone, and then Kotlin for Android. And then that's it. Supabase, PostHog, and GitHub. That's all I use. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and I'll make another video soon. Peace.